This is Glenda. This is Nursing 435, Week 2, care of the patient and family during labor and delivery. Our objectives for this week are to describe the labor and birth processes, including phases and stages of labor, select appropriate nursing interventions for the patient in labor, differentiate the major types of pain management, including areas affected, methods, advantages, disadvantages, and nursing implications. Use appropriate nursing interventions to support the laboring patient and her family during selected procedures. Assess fetal well-being in labor by examining fetal heart rate baseline, variability, and periodic changes. And identify the symptoms of intrapartum complications and employ appropriate nursing interventions to manage them. So let's start with the labor and birth process. There's some factors that affect the birth process. The first one being the fetus, the passenger. The size of the fetal head plays a big part in the labor process. The overlap of the skull bones occurs during the delivery process and results in molding. The fetal presentation, or the part of the fetus entering the pelvic inlet first, is a consideration. 96% of the time, excuse me, it's a vertex or cephalic presentation where the head is coming first. The fetal lie, or the relation of the long axis of the fetus to the long axis of the mother, or the spines, how are they in relation to each other? It can be transverse, horizontal, or oblique. Fetal attitude is the relation of the fetal parts to each other, and flexibility. Fetal position is the relationship of a reference point on the presenting part to the four quadrants of the mother's pelvis. For instance, if it's the cephalic presentation, the occiput can be, or the back of the head can be either facing the mother's right, the mother's left, anterior or posterior. Can have a lot to do with how quickly or how successful the labor is. The station is the relationship of the presenting part to an imaginary line drawn between the maternal ischial spines. Measures the degree of descent, or how far down the fetus has come into the birth canal. Slide number 5 is an illustration of the bones of the fetal head, and how you see the spaces between them. They're not fused bones, specifically for the birth process where they can overlap and be accommodated in the birth canal. Slide number 6 is a top view down looking at the anterior and posterior fontanelles. Those are very important, and as you know, they don't close right away after delivery. Slide number 7 is showing how the bones in the head overlap, and then the picture at the bottom on slide 7 is showing the cone head, or the molding of the fetal head, and then again 24 hours later where the swelling or the molding has gone away. Slide number 8 shows a fetal attitude. It shows a flexion and extension. You can imagine that the flexion would be much easier to be passing under the symphysis pubis and under the pubic arch than the extension. Can cause major problems in labor and delivery. Slide number 9 is fetal lie. You can see on the right is transverse lie, and obviously that baby cannot be delivered vaginally as long as it's transverse. They don't fold in half very well, and they don't fit. So we want them to be longitudinal, or up and down, preferably the head down. In slide number 10 are breech presentations. Breech presentations can be either buttocks first, feet first, or a combination of all that. It can have one foot out, you can have both feet, or you can have the buttocks down. Again, difficult delivery usually results in C-sections for reasons such as the head entrapment into the cervix, with the largest part of the fetus being last. Usually it's first so that the cervix stays dilated for the entire delivery. On slide number 11 is the cephalic presentations, vertex, military, brow, and face, and it shows you from the posterior view, not posterior, inferior view of what the fetal head looks like from the examiner's position. That's the end of part 1.